Here's an image of sea surface temperature. This image is showing us the Gulf Stream off the east coast of the US. And it is also showing us ocean dynamics happening at different spatial scales. This image is an output from a global simulation run from the MIT General Circulation Model. Models like these are trying to represent the physical processes occurring on Earth. So we asked ourselves, how well are these global ocean simulations able to capture the physics of small-scale features and reproduce them? How small are we talking about? This is the same image as before. Up top is a branch coming off the main current that vertically is 200 kilometers long. Next to it is a 100 kilometer sized eddy. And down left is a smaller scale physical process that appears to be in its early stages and is around 30 kilometers large. You might be wondering, why are we interested in these global ocean simulations to be able to accurately represent smaller scale features like the ones pictured here? Well, these models are trying to describe highly dynamical and nonlinear systems, which in turn makes them chaotic systems. Currents like the Gulf Stream can lose their energy to smaller scale physical processes and to turbulence. But the exchange of energy can happen also the other way, where an event of smaller energy can build up to an event of larger energy. And that is why we are interested and care that these global ocean simulations are able to accurately represent smaller scale physical processes. Only now are the global ocean models running at spatial scales potentially capable of resolving submesoscale physical processes. And we define submesoscale here as under 30 kilometers. And again, we ask ourselves the questions, how good are they? How good are they at reproducing submesoscale physical processes? We chose to assess the highest resolution global ocean simulation we knew of. That is the LLC4320 simulation from the MIT General Circulation Model. This simulation ran for the year 2012, and it had a grid spacing that varied by latitude from 1 kilometer at poles to around 2 kilometers at the equator. We chose to assess the simulation and compare it to an observational data set, specifically sea surface temperature data from the VIIRS instrument. We used its data from 2012 to 2020, and its data had equal, and sometimes higher resolution than what the simulation outputted. From the sea surface temperature outputs from the simulation and the sea surface temperature data from the VIIRS instrument, we extracted square 144 by 144 kilometers squared images. We sampled these images to have equal pixel size of around 2 by 2 kilometers squared, and we demeaned these images. The resulting images of sea surface temperature anomaly we call cutouts. The concentration of cutouts is plotted here on the left on a log scale, where the yellow regions are showing the highest concentration of cutouts. Each region of the world has now a set of simulation cutouts, or LLC for short, and a set of Beers cutouts. We wanted to do a global spatial analysis and be able to answer the question, for each region in the world, how did these small scale features in the LLC cutouts differ from those in the Beers cutouts? Again, cutouts are these square sea surface temperature anomaly images. And sea surface temperature anomaly means we subtracted out the mean temperature from the sea surface temperature fields. To do our analysis, we needed to characterize these cutouts. We could have used traditional metrics like the variance of the sea surface temperature anomaly field, or we could have constructed our own metric, but we decided to let the computer characterize them. We used a machine learning model, a probabilistic autoencoder, and this model, without supervision, learns to identify the fundamental characteristics in the images of a training set, and then uses the knowledge it gained to characterize images to single values. In our case, the machine learning model was trained on a subset of Beers cutouts and then characterized the LLC and Beers cutouts to values that we designate as to be LL values. Now there are 5 cutouts plotted here. Each cutout was characterized by the machine learning model and has an associated LL value. The 5 cutouts were chosen randomly from each 20 percentile of the Beers LL distribution. The leftmost cutout has more structure and a lower LL value than the cutout on the opposite end of the distribution. This LL value gives us a measure of the structure within a cutout. And we use this metric to evaluate the similarities and differences in the submesoscale sea surface temperature structure for the LLC simulation and the Beers observations. To do our global spatial analysis, we divided the globe into equal-sized areas, 100 by 100 kilometer squared bins. For each bin, we calculated the difference, we calculated the median LL values for the Beers cutouts and the LLC cutouts whose center fell into those bins. And the differences between the median LL values was plotted for each bin in color below in this plot. The regions in red are where the LLC simulation has more structure than what the Beers data observed. The regions in blue are where the Beers data had more structure than what the simulation outputted. And there are 2 types of gray here. The lighter shade of gray denotes land, where there aren't any sea surface temperature measurements. And the darker shade of gray, covering the bodies of water, is where there wasn't a statistically significant difference between the simulation and the Beers sea surface temperature structure. Lastly, the white is where we did not have enough Beers data to make any comparison. Overall, there's a large amount of gray, and this means the LLC simulation did a good job at reproducing the sea surface temperature structure in comparison to the Beer's observational data set. There are 3 rectangles also in this plot where we looked into why the simulation differed from the Beer's data. The red in the cyan rectangle is red because the simulation had placed the Gulf Stream current in the wrong place. The red in the white rectangle was an issue in parametrization with the simulation. As for the area in the yellow rectangle, it is unclear why Beer's data had more structure. We found unflagged clouds in the Beer's data, but there also had been discussion that the simulation had a parameterization issue along the equator for that region. In conclusion, we trained the machine learning model on the characteristics of a subset of Beer's cutouts. We then applied the trained model to characterize the cutouts in both data sets, and we then compared the results statistically. This approach, however, is generalizable. It can be used to compare the characterization of any image set to another. For example, if you're interested in comparing Beer's versus Modis, LLC versus HICOM, or Renoir versus Van Gogh. In our case, we were interested in comparing the submesoscale sea surface temperature structure in the LLC simulation and comparing it to the Beer's observational data set. And we found that overall, they were in agreement with each other. Thank you.